Here we are in Moscow, Tennessee, what is known as the Hound Dog Ranch, as dubbed by the previous owner. The current owner we're getting ready to meet. He's pulling up here any second, and we're going to get a tour of this farm. This is the farm, 400-acre property that was purchased by Elvis for his father, Vernon Presley, back in 1974. And the property was closed on and sold on August 10th of 1977, ironically just 6 days before Elvis passed. But this property was owned by Elvis, his father, and I've been told by a couple individuals that knew Elvis very well that Elvis was in fact out here and in fact looked at an adjacent house for his own. So here we are at the Hound Dog Ranch in Moscow, Tennessee. Get ready for a tour. So here it is, 2019. It's hard to believe, nearly 42 years after Elvis's passing, we're still discovering places and things and people connected to Elvis's life and career. And this is no exception. We're pulling up to a gem here, a piece of property that Elvis bought for his father. I had so many people that were like, "You didn't own a farm there, you're crazy." I'm like, "No, he didn't." "No, he didn't. You're making this." I'm like, "Look, I'm not in that business. This really is the, the gospel
the local
truth."
guys, they still call it the Presley place.
Oh, do they?
The folks around here.
Oh, that's cool.
They knew it.
Okay, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, Marty, and I spoke with a gal that dated Elvis, and Marty had been out here, I believe, Marty Lacker. Now, he's since passed away this past year. But a girlfriend, I spoke with her, she's still living. She's like, "I remember Elvis telling me about that place, and his dad going out there." So, and I believe he had come out here a time or two. But I guess they purchased December 17th of 74, and then they closed, ironically, when it was sold, they closed August 10th of 77, just 6 days before Elvis died.
Yeah,
So,
I knew it was close. I didn't know it was that close. When it was first put up for sale, I bought 150 acres on that side, and this was $270 a year. And he had a couple of tractors over here. The guy named and he was owning. That was in the late 90s. And so I don't know if those tractors might have been some of those. Maybe he bought those at some time.
Oh, yeah.
But he had I remember there was a blue Ford, and another tractor too. So it could have been one of those.
And
they
not
got sold off about that time.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know it probably seems like minutia, but it's like, being a treasure hunter of sorts.
Yeah.
And so many fans. Yeah, it's just,
it's somewhere out there.
it's just kind of, fun.
Yeah.
But, there's some other equipment here you see listed. But but it's intriguing paperwork. Actually, when I had this handled to market, I believe the real estate agent reached out to me. I think he saw some publicity I had. He reached out and provided this paperwork.
Yeah.
And I see the attorney's names on here.
I may have in the record somewhere. I got a box of stuff that
do you?
I didn't pay too much attention to it.
Oh, no, I understand.
It's stuck in a box possibly.
No,
Sure.
totally understand. So, fill me in, because I'm to make sure for everybody. I want to be accurate when I quote the acreage. So originally it was 400 acres.
420.
420.
And
okay.
so I bought the 150 on the north side. This is 270, and somewhere in the late 90s, a year or two after I bought that part, and then I bought this from him 4 or 5 years ago. And what I've done since is I added another 130 or so on the backside. I bought from an old Fayette County family named. They actually are still around, and they knew some of the things that had happened back here. He was the mayor of Moscow for years, and his health was bad. They left the property. They sold their farm, which is on the back east side of the property.
Okay.
And they moved to some.
Oh, okay. So they would be hip to.
They would know. They would. I'll get you their information.
Oh, that'd be great.
They would know a lot about what's happened out here. I tell you, the guy we're missing is across the street. He died about 3 years ago, I think, and he told me that Elvis had been here. Because he had lived in that property across the street for 40 or 50 years.
Wow.
And
so he truly would know the coming and going.
His widow is still alive.
Oh.
And so she may know something too.
Okay.
She sold that place to another guy just in the
I see.
last couple of years. So
Is it predominantly a lot of weekend properties out in this neck of the woods, or? I mean, this is a weekend property.
It is for me. Yeah,
okay.
I come out here. I've got a dirt bike track back there, and we got
Nice.
we're growing soybeans right now,
Okay.
and I got a buddy that comes out and hunts, and we fish in the ponds and all that. But it's it's not great farm ground. it would make a good cattle farm, but
Sure.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not so much into cows.
No, understood.
Yeah, but so it's we're working on the cabin. You guys come in and check it
Yeah,
out.
I'd love to.
Here we are in the main cabin. This cabin is actually very aged. As you can see, it's the classic kind of backwoodsy cabin. The core structure had been there for decades, and then it was added onto on either end. There was an additional bedroom added, and then there was a kitchen added, and at the one point there was a porch, screened-in porch, that became a second level that you could access via the staircase. The current owner is currently doing some renovations. The kitchen has been updated, and he's trying to keep it all original as it was during the Presley era, but adding some modern conveniences. Beautiful cabin, excellent condition, and you can't help but feel when you're inside wondering the conversations that his father, Elvis's father, and Elvis and some of the entourage would have had that had the pleasure of going out there either for a weekend or an afternoon or a day. So it's just really a cool experience. I know I was going to ask you. I had heard, and I forget exactly who it was. It might have been from Gordon in referencing another neighbor. He had heard, and maybe it was from the real estate agent I spoke with, that Elvis looked at a property adjacent here. I think there was like a big home. Did you ever hear that?
I don't know about that.
As you come in on the right, there's a brick house that sits back. It's kind of a colonial.
That's an old Civil War era home, I think. And that the new property that I bought it goes behind that. So
I think that was the home because
maybe, yeah.
The agent, I believe it was referencing a big older home that
It's about the only thing around here it could be.
I bet that was it then. And conceivably it could have been for sale. But knowing Elvis, even if it wasn't, and he was interested, he would have knocked on the door.
I'm sure.
It's kind of how you roll. That large body of water, when I had the property marketed several years ago, it was one of what I believe to be 4 original large bodies of water. There's actually 10 bodies of water on this original 420-acre farm. As you can see, there's a lot of pine growth. My understanding, there has been several thousand pine trees planted from the previous owner as well as by Paul. The property is very wide open and vast, and it was actually pretty windy and cold that day. He leased quite a bit of acreage to a local farmer to plant and harvest soybeans. In the forefront is the original barn that was on the property, the 420 acres, when Elvis bought the farm for his father. In the distance, you'll see a pavilion-style barn that was added by Paul most recently. So Paul is gracious enough to put us in his quad 4x4 side by side, and I'm glad it was a 4x4. As you can see, the muddy trails we were on. And we got a good lay of the land that day. You can see the diverse vegetation that we crossed through from open field into woods. And just up here to the right, you'll see a dirt track that Paul had added, where he kind of added his own touches to the farm. Here are some of the vast pine forest that we went through that Paul had planted, but prior to him, of course, the original owner. These are rather mature, and they'll be here for future generations to enjoy. We came across this cool tree, and we were told it is one of the oldest trees in the area. As you'll notice, a lot of these pines are in a perfect row. These were planted methodically, and they will be harvested down the road at one point to be used for pulpwood, ultimately paper. So we had a great day with Paul. We're headed back to the cabin at this point, and Paul had tipped us off to a lot of names that could be beneficial in learning more information about Elvis, Vernon, and the entourage spending time out here at the farm. So off to do some research and on to the next episode.